So this is session 5 of Holiness. I'm going to begin by reading a passage from Isaiah 6. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and lifted up, and his train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphs, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying, and they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts and thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. Woe to me, I cried, I am ruined. I am a man of unclean lips, and I have lived amongst a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the Lord Almighty. Then one of the seraphs flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he'd taken with tongs from the altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. It's a great passage. It shows the glory and the holiness of God. But I want to give it a little bit of background and explanation. It begins in the year that King Uzziah died. Now, King Uzziah had a very long reign, and during his reign he had brought about quite a spiritual reform for the nation. But he ended up violating his own principles, and after his death the spiritual life of the nation really went into decline. But it was during his reign that the prophet Isaiah was born. And it's also a time of great change in world history. It was the year that King Uzziah died that Isaiah is actually given this vision. And I believe it was God revealing to him how things were going to be. At a time when the nation was becoming spiritually blind, it's like God opened Isaiah's eyes to see the true situation. He saw into the throne room of God, and he saw God enthroned there. It says his train filled the temple. Now, back in those days, dress showed your status, especially for a king. So the type of cloth, the length of the robe, all those sorts of things. Here, the train fills the whole temple. It's way and above anything of an earthly king. There was seraph above the throne. They had 6 wings. They used 2 of them to fly. But 2 of them were to cover their eyes, cover their faces. You see, even angels had to protect themselves from the glory of God. They couldn't look upon the glory of God. It was so intense. With 2, they covered their feet. Feet are a symbol of being a created being. And so in the presence of God, they covered that symbol of their createdness. But these angels were praising God. Holy, holy, holy. When we want to emphasize something in English, we underline it or we put an exclamation mark. But for the Hebrew people, they would repeat. And so you get Jesus saying things like, Truly, truly, I tell you. So that's saying, take notice of this. This is important. Or you get Paul saying, Rejoice. Again I say, rejoice. He repeats it to emphasize it. But here, it's not just repeated once, it's repeated again. Holy, holy, holy. No other attribute of God is given this 3-fold repetition. And that's an indication that this is the most important thing about God. He is a holy God. Now, Isaiah would have been a very godly man, but when he saw the very glory of God, he just fell apart. The word used is there, woe is me, for I am ruined. That's the newer translation, but the older one is, I am undone. And that's a better translation. Isaiah just completely fell apart in the presence of an awesome God. Now, Isaiah had a seraph, one of the seraphs, come with the coal, which he took from the altar. But he took it in tongs, far too hot for the seraph to touch, but also far too holy for even an angelic being to touch. And with it he touched the lips of Isaiah. The importance of that is that Isaiah realised that he was a man who lived amongst a people of unclean lips. In other words, he realised the sordidness that came out of his mouth. And so it was important that he received that forgiveness. But the forgiveness came, it would have been a very painful thing to have a live coal touch your lips. Lips are very sensitive. They're also the means by which we give a kiss to someone that we love. Isaiah's sordidness could only be cleansed away by a holy God. Nothing less could do the job. And it's then that Isaiah is able to hear the word that God will send him. Isaiah is the prophet who prophesied the coming of Jesus. Isaiah 9:6, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders." Only the awesome holiness of God in Jesus could cleanse his people.
We see the Lord, and he is high upon the throne, and his glory fills the heaven and the earth. One like a lamb who was slain is on the throne. So I cast my crown before you and bow down to pray. For everything cries holy, everything cries holy, oh everything cries holy to you, Lord. Oh everything cries holy, oh everything cries holy, oh everything cries holy to you, Lord. We see the Lord, and he is high upon the throne, and his glory fills the heaven and the earth. One like a lamb